was going to say.
Oh, come on.
Mishnah Dalet, I think, no?
What?
Mishnah Dalet.
Yeah. Well, Mishnah, yeah, I think we covered Mishnah Gimel, yeah.
Workers recite Kriya Shema on top of a tree, on top of a wall or mound of stones. Which they're not allowed to do. So, that means.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do we do now?
What's on our checklist? Preliminary information? No?
What was that?
Is there any preliminary information that we need?
Well, you can always start with the case. What exactly is the case here? You know? What exactly is the case?
Tree.
Who?
The guy's on a tree.
Yeah, it's the guy's on a tree.
It's a work, there's a
Yeah, he's obviously a worker that is picking off fruit from the tree. Or he's maybe cementing the wall. Either way. Right? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so what's the
The time has come and he's busy doing work.
he's what?
He's busy doing work, so the time has come. The question is whether he should keep doing work. I mean, he should say it right there, or he should come back, come down and say it. Down.
Yeah.
I guess there's an idea of a bodily position or a state that can interfere with with the required concentration.
Yeah.
So what's the problem just to come down to a better concentration? Because he's, I guess he's paid by an hour, he's paid by time.
Yeah.
So the question is if he just goes down for better kavana, so he's gonna overcharge. Probably that has to be the problem. Otherwise, why just go down for better kavana? Why not? That has to be the reason.
Yeah. So so how do you begin thinking about this Mishnah?
I would start simply. What is a regular forget the owner. What's the case? What's the case of a normal person?
Yeah.
Can he say it in the tree?
It's not
and if not, why not? Before I will come on to why the Unan is an exception to that rule. What's the base?
He has to balance out over there. So it's very
Therefore,
difficult to keep kavana. So it's better to say with kavana. So you should come down, regular person, not woman.
Yeah. So what's the first idea that you have to know before you even get into this Mishnah?
Requirement kavana and hidur of better kavana.
There you are. Obviously, Kriya Shema needs kavana. That's the first idea. You know what I'm saying? So in a normal case, Kriya Shema would need kavana. You know, we had that in the beginning of Mishnah Beis. Remember that? Remember that we had kiven liboy. You know. So therefore, it requires some type of kavana. Fine.
The more kavana, the better.
Who?
The more kavana, the better.
The more kavana, the better.
That's a question over here.
What do you mean by the better?
I mean, the
It
better
is
means what it is.
kavana.
It's more hidur. So
He would need kavana.
no, kavana he has anyway, no matter what. Even if he's on top of Ilan, he has kavana. The question is what kind of kavana? Better kavana, worse kavana. Of course he has kavana. He knows what he's saying. He knows what he's saying. If he's jumping around, he also has kavana. It's not the point. The point is what better kavana, worse kavana. If he has to balance out, so his kavana is not complete, but he does have it anyway. It's not the question that he doesn't have it.
Well, this Mishnah has a case that deals with really what? What does it really deal with? You know.
Hidur kavana.
So what's a standard? What's the normal case in this Mishnah? Like you said, right?
Not woman, just regular guy.
A regular case is what?
Regular guy
Is a
happens to be over there.
there's a requirement for kavanah. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the regular case. So that would be actually
But
a
it's not
idea.
really requirement for kavana. It's requirement for kavana plus hidur for more of a kavana, better kavana.
Well-
Here question is better kavana, not just kavana. Kavana has anyway.
We're
no
not
matter
okay, so preliminary idea. One,
what. First kavana, second better
a
kavana.
person who reads Kriya Shema needs kavanah.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Now we get into this Mishnah. What happens here?
On top of the tree, it's very difficult to have kavana. He's distracted by having to balance, I guess.
Because what's the problem here?
He shouldn't fall down.
Yes, he's afraid of fall, right? So in order not to fall, he always has to make sure that he's holding on. You know what I'm saying? But if he's afraid he's going to fall, right? So what's the problem then? What's the problem if he's what?
He'll
What?
lose the kavanah.
Or he won't be able to be mechaber. Let's assume so. Let's keep it simple, right? So his fear of falling will interfere with his ability to mechaber.
It will diminish it. It's not going to cancel it.
Well, we don't really know. Let's assume. Let's go all the way. Let's just say that because he's afraid he's going to fall, right? Therefore, he won't. It'll interfere.
It's impossible.
With his
Not,
kavana.
it's impossible not to. Not. I mean, he has some kavana for sure. It's impossible just to kill his kavana. He knows what he's saying. He could talk. He could think about something.
No, but that's not the. The in kiven liboy. What was the kavana that he has to have?
That he's doing the mitzvah and
The what?
understand the words. What we're saying.
That would what?
Just that he's doing the mitzvah.
Yeah, that with this kriya, he wants to fulfill his obligation.
Right. It's
Okay.
very easy kavana to have on top of a tree. If you're there, you're doing something there anyway. You're working,
I
obviously.
mean, you're
so-
saying that since he's reading it, why is he reading it? Obviously, the fact that he's saying it up on the tree means that.
No, even if it's explicit kavana, what's the big deal? So he has kavana. It's not such a homeric kavana, but I mean, you can not to have kavana. It's impossible not to have kavana. We can't say just he can't be mechaman at all. Why not? He's working. He's doing something. He's doing some
So
activity.
why is
there.
there an issue altogether?
So probably
What's the chiddush here then?
for hidur, it's better to have more of a kavana.
You want to learn the meaning of hidur?
I mean, it has to be. He can't just not have kavana. He can't lose kavana. He's working. He's doing something there, right? So he's doing some activity. He can talk with other guys. I mean, he knows what he's doing. I mean, it's not that he doesn't have kavana at all. He doesn't lose his seichel.
Well, if you look at this case, right? If you look at this case, it's a normal case, right? Person who reads Kriya Shema, kiven liboy, has to have kavanah. Yes. So this mission is a case about what? This mission now brings a case. What is this case all about?
A level of kavana probably.
It's not a matter of level of kavanah. That's you're assuming it's a level of kavanah.
Yeah.
That is your assumption.
Yeah.
But what is the Mishnah really saying? Forget, you're assuming it's a level of kavanah. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's no kavanah.
It's impossible not to have kavana. It's impossible.
Fine. So let's just see what the Mishnah says before we begin to interpret no kavanah or level of kavanah, or diminished kavanah. What does the Mishnah say? You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's look at the case. You know, we know a preliminary idea is what? That you have to have kavanah for Kriya Shema. Great? Fine. And you only have to have kavanah for the first pasuk. Yes? Because you want to mechaven that you want to be yotzei, right? Mitzvah Kriya Shema, and you have the first pasuk. Yes? Now, so along comes a Mishnah and tells you an interesting case. What's the case? That
The guy is up there, and Mishnah says, "Stay where you are. You're fine with that kavana. You're fine
okay.
for Shema, but not for tefillah."
Yeah. So so the Mishnah says what? That you can stay where you are, yes, and be mechaven. Yes? Okay. Now what? What would be the alternative, being mechaven? Or what would be the alternative? What could the halacha be?
You have to get down off the tree.
You have to go down. There's two alternatives here, right? This person has to be mechaven, yes? So there's two alternatives. You know what I'm saying? One, he could say Kriya Shema on the tree, or he could say Kriya Shema on the ground. It's one of the two things. You know what I'm saying? So the question is, what's the problem here? What is the issue here that you need a halacha? What's the issue? What's the problem here? In other words, this halacha is really a solution to something. Yes? Whenever it says a halacha, it's a case that answers a problem. And the answer is the halacha. You see? So the question is, what is the problem here? You know what I'm saying?
I might have missed the first part. Forgive me if I'm being redundant, but
We just started.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
When it comes to Shema, a lot of times you are you have a time limit. So let's say if this mission is giving you the clearance to, let's say, stay where you are, have a minimal amount of kavanah bin yotze, it's basically you could apply that to a case. Think synthesize, right? Synthesize that to a case where if you're in let's say walking in a busy place like in Grand Central Station. Also remember you didn't say Kriya Shema. So this halacha allows you to say Kriya Shema in that situation with a minimal amount of kavanah b'yotzeh.
Yeah. But the problem is that you're placing this Mishnah within a specific context, and that may not be true. You're saying that this Mishnah would apply if you're running out of time. Let's say you look at your clock and you got 4 minutes. So what do? You know what I'm saying? But that's a case. You're assuming that your case is that. But what happens if the case is not that? The case is simply, he's got 3 hours for Kriya Shema to be over.
So now I would have a big question.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You are creating a case which may or may not exist. In other words, what's the case of the Mishnah? Although what you're saying is a valid point. If that was the case, then we'd have to examine what's the chiddush here.
The Mishnah is saying...
But Pashtus, the Mishnah is simply saying, right, then what? You have to be mechavan. 1. 2.
So if you...
Can you be mechavan while you're up in the tree 40 feet above the ground? Let's assume you're really high up, give it real. So the Mishnah is saying, well, the question is, can you be mechavan up there? So what's the alternative?
Come down.
Either you have to come down because you can't be mechavan, got to come down, or you can't be mechavan and stay up. You know what I'm saying? So the Mishnah tells us that you can be mechavan, and therefore you can stay up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But isn't that only because there's a conflict between the requirement to have kavanah and the fact that you're a paid worker?
What does the paid worker do for you? How does that add to the problem?
Because that's the problem, because you have a chiyuv to stay up there based on your agreement with your employer.
So if you go down to the
So
ground,
now you have conflicting...
what's the conflict?
The conflict is in chiyuvim. On the one hand, you have a chiyuv to say Kriya Shema with kavanah.
Yeah.
On the other hand, on Torah also, you have a chiyuv to fulfill the requirements of your contract.
Which is to work.
Which is to work on the tree right now.
Yeah, but then you're assuming that you're not allowed to go down. It's also to go down because you're wasting time if you go down.
Why not?
You know what I'm saying?
But
yeah.
Your employer needs you on a tree that is based on whatever agreement you've made, and you theoretically would have, I'm assuming you would have a chiyuv to
It's
be
deep
on
from the
that tree.
Mishnah, really.
What if you're self-employed?
No, it's deep from the Mishnah.
No,
It's deep from the
That's
Mishnah.
what I was talking about.
That's what Mishnah is saying.
But if you think about it, whenever a person hires somebody, built into the agreement is that if you need to take off for Kriya Shema, you can.
Oh, but how much of
you
that?
know what I'm saying? That's understood.
But how much of an allowance is that?
It's an allowance to say
Well,
Kriya Shema.
that's what we were just saying. The allowance only in you must say Kriya Shema. You're allowed to say Kriya Shema, but only in as much as you stay up on that tree and you try your best.
Well, what about Shemona Esrei? You got to come down, or you cost
Maybe
this
for
guy a lot of
Shemona
money.
Esrei, you have a higher requirement of kavanah, and it passes the threshold where you would already have to come down. Meaning, there's a certain threshold.
If it's
where
also,
you
it's
balance.
also. What do you mean high threshold?
Also
What
for
is this, combat? Is this a mitzvah, not mitzvah, what do you call it?
Kol down
No, I say it's who's more
That's
powerful.
what it sounds like.
That's hard to say.
I think we're
Why?
trying.
It's hard to say because you don't need to come on to the combat idea.
Why isn't it true?
You don't have to come out because it's logical that if a guy hires you and Kriya Shema is part of that you could take time out for Kriya Shema.
If it's a Jew hiring a Jew, he should expect that the person should be able, the employee should be able to say Kriya Shema.
Yes, so that's part of the agreement. So the fact that he comes down is okay.
So then what's
In the first
stopping
place,
the person
there's
from
no. You're making it to a. It's a power struggle here. That's a chiddush. That the Chazal said, even though it's really also, they can do it anyway.
Yes, sir.
No,
I said
that's a power struggle.
There's two conflicting.
A conflict
views.
means it's also and one side, and then the other side means you got to come down. Right? That's a power struggle.
Let's say
That's an
somebody's
Isa.
self-employed or he's just climbing a tree for enjoyment. Theoretically, it says Umnin over here, so would he have to come down?
That's not the case.
Well, I'm just using that as a point. I'm using that to make a point.
Yeah. Would he have to come down?
Would he have theoretically? I mean, I'm assuming he would have to come down.
That's a very good point. You know,
So the only thing that's keeping him on the tree is the fact that he's an Uman.
what's keeping him on the tree is that he's an Uman. What are you saying?
I'm saying that he has a responsibility to remain on the tree
Why?
because he's an Uman and his job is on that tree.
Woman is not. It doesn't mean employee. Sorry.
What does it mean?
Woman?
It means you know how to climb trees. He's a professional climber.
No, woman is a person who works with his hands.
He picks fruit.
I see. It's logical to
I
assume.
understand what you're saying, because it's really saying that he's there, is it necessary that he comes down? And the Mishnah says, no, it's not necessary that he comes down. He could, he probably could.
So why is it?
But he's
limited to
saying you
Uman?
can't because it's
But
us to
doesn't-
do
Why
that.
is it limited to Uman then?
But the Mishnah doesn't say that.
But it
Where's
doesn't say that you. Why
Where's
does it
the
mention Uman?
proof? Where's the proof that it's not us to come down at all?
So Shmuel answer, he comes down.
Exactly.
Well, why are you
Why
saying he
do
comes
you-
down? Where do you
Because
see that?
you can't do that.
Why,
He doesn't say
why
Chroneso.
should he say? It sounds from here that a person who's climbing for recreation has to come back down for Kriya Shema. That's what it sounds like.
No, it's not. No. We're
the
talking about this.
Hold on.
No. This case is not recreation. This
I
guy's out
understand
there
that.
doing the
I'm using
work.
that to make a point. Again, it sounds like for a person climbs the tree for recreation, he must come down to say Kriya Shema.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, but look at the
So
second
then,
part.
in this situation where he's an Uman,
But even with the Ummah,
Why
look
is
at
he
the-
allowed
look
to
at-
stay up?
Look at the
But
Risha.
let's get
I
the
mean,
case.
Look at the Sefer. It says,
Let's get the
"Ma-"
case.
Hang on. For the Sefer, Masha ena rashim lasot kelim to tefillah.
okay.
Means he's not allowed to stay up there for if he's going to make a Shemona Esrei, he's not allowed to stay up there.
Okay, but you're saying that means he has to come down. Maybe
That's right, he's got to come down.
and
Right, he's got to come down.
Or maybe he's potter.
Then why would he have to come down?
I think
He said no one said he had to come down.
We're making a
That's
lot
what
of
I'm
He's
saying.
not allowed to say Shemon Esrei up there.
Well, it says you're not allowed to stay up there
Yes, sir.
for Shemona
We're
Esrei.
making a lot of
It-
assumptions.
it-
We're trying to say these are-
It would
If you
seem
want to say
that
Shemona
he has
Esrei,
to
you got to
come
come
down.
down.
You're right. It doesn't say, but it would seem that
But clearly,
Kriya Shema you can
the
stay
Risha
up,
says for
or
Kriya
Shema
Shema,
he has to come
he's
down.
not chaya.
But
No,
an
there's
Uman,
no,
only an
there's
Uman.
no, there's no,
Only an Uman.
but there's no chiyuv from to have
Let's
to
say
come
a guy
down.
who's doing recreation, it sounds like he would have to come down. So if he's only a matter of him being up there and we don't require him to come
It's
down
not a necessary
to
chiyuv. It's not necessary.
well then why doesn't he have to come down?
For
What?
Why doesn't he have to come down for Kriya Shema?
for the recreation guy? Who
Let's
said-
say the Uman. Why does he not have to come down?
It sounds like if he wants to come down, he could, but it says he doesn't have to.
Then why does the recreational guy have to stay?
You
Why
really
have to
coming-
come down?
You don't know.
There is no
we're not,
recreation.
because where is
No,
recreation?
it
We're not
doesn't-
thinking about
that's
it.
Why
your
does it? Why
deal.
does it? Why do we?
We don't even know if that's true.
How do you know?
So you
Why-
can't have proof
How do you know it's not talking about Umar?
Perhaps.
Because this is a practical
But it
case.
says Uman. Why does it have to come out to Uman?
Wait,
Let's
wait,
say
wait.
somebody who's
Wait, you see, here's what you've made up a case, and now you're using it as proof. You can't do
I
that.
understand that, but at the same
So
time,
I'll tell you
why
what,
do we
so-
say? Why do we have
So
to
let's
say?
do this.
Because
So let's just learn the
we're
case.
talking about what's a common case. A common case, why, like, who's going to be on the end of a tree? Like, yeah, I just climb up to the end of the tree for fun because I just love having the jollies of picking up fruit and thinking I'm going to fall 40 feet from the air. Yeah, I love doing that. Don't you?
I did that in your Kipper one. There's 5 results.
And I mean, that
There
could
is
be
a
completely common
worker
cases.
up on the tree picking fruit.
Okay, that's the common case. That you're saying it's a common case.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Now the problem is this: he wants to say Kriya Shema. Okay, so
Okay.
what does he do? But Kriya Shema requires kavana,
Okay.
and therefore it's very hard to be mechaven up in the tree.
Granted.
Why? So on one side, if he stays up in the tree,
The less kavanah.
why? Or maybe no kavanah.
Because he's worried about falling.
Oh, so the fear of falling will prevent him,
Having
let's
kavanah.
assume, from having kavanah. So that's why he shouldn't stay up in the tree. Okay. So therefore, what's the alternative? To descend.
Okay.
But what's the problem if he descends? Is that he will be costing the balabos money. Because to go down a tree and go back up, it's going to take 20 minutes. You know, in those days they didn't have cherry pickers. You know,
Right.
you had to get up and
Right.
how are they, right? And you're costing the owner money.
I mean, you have to, it's okay, but maybe
So
you
So-
don't have to.
recreational,
so therefore,
you have to come
it's
down.
Well, forget the record. You're inserting that as a new case. Let's deal with this case.
Okay.
Can't do that. Just deal with the case first.
Okay.
Then any chedushin that comes out, you can deal with the recreation.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But examine the case. So here's the problem. He wants to say Kriya Shema. He needs kavanah. Right?
Right.
So therefore, if it's staying up in the tree, he's afraid of falling. And he may not have kavanah.
Okay.
If he goes down, it's going to cost the owner money.
Okay.
Or the employer money. So what do we
That's what I
do?
said before.
No, forget the recreation. No.
No, before recreation.
If you, go fine. That's the fear. The fear is to fall with no kavanah. Or if he has kavanah,
That's
then the
a
owner
conflict of
loses
chiyuvim.
money.
I have a chiyuv to make sure my boss gets his labor done.
It's not about chiyuv. Chazal were concerned about
That the
the
Baal
money.
will lose money.
Yeah, that he'll lose money. Yeah, it doesn't have to be also. They would just because as far as the Baal Boss is concerned, it's okay for part of the agreement is that if you need to say Kriya Shema, what should he do? Skip the whole thing? No. Obviously, it's part of the work agreement,
So why
unstated
would
agreement.
Chazal worry that he would lose money? If it's part of the
Oh,
agreement.
so they examined that and they said, listen, we don't want this guy to lose money. The owner, the employer.
But he's okay with it.
What? No, he's not okay. He doesn't want to lose money. He agreed. He agreed if that's what you have to do.
You probably don't
But Chazal trying to save him.
Okay.
So therefore, they came along and said, listen,
Okay.
what? They said, if it's only Kriya Shema, it's only the first pasuk, right? So it's possible, even if he's afraid of falling, he will be able to mechavan.
Okay.
Why did they do that? They could have
Save
said,
the
go
Baal
down.
Basma.
They could say the Baal Basma. Correct.
Because all he knows is Tzorech HaKavanah Ela B'Pasuk Rishon Bilvad. That's all he needs kavanah for.
Yeah,
One pasuk.
exactly. So because
How
he's
much
able
does it
to
say
do
one
it,
pasuk?
yeah, because he's able to do it, right? So the concern of the employer was greater than we're not worried about, you know.
And why
That
that's tefillah?
that would seem as the Pashup Shah.
Okay.
Okay, but you can't do that in tefillah. Why? Because tefillah you need kavana, right? What's the
It
difference?
is
between
Beikar Hadin.
Who?
Tefillah Beikar Hadin in Kavana, Beikar Hadin.
So what's the difference between tefillah and Shema?
On Shema, less Kavana is also sufficient. For Tefillah, it's
No.
not that good.
Why does tefillah
Maybe
mean
there's a
no
longer
kavana?
duration where you need to.
Who?
where you need
It's
to-
longer. Yeah, it's 18 brachos, 19 brachos. That's
As
number
opposed to
one.
one plus.
What was that?
As opposed to one plus.
No, but it's not what Mishnah says. Mishnah says Rachme, it's Rachme. So it's
Oh, because
By
tefillah you
right?
make requests.
By Shema, you have
And
to.
that's
You know,
fine.
you're asking for things, right?
So if you're
So if you're asking for things and your mind's not there, what are you asking? You know. So the problem with tefillah is the kavana, right? Is besides that it's much longer. It seems to be more required because you're asking for things, and if you're asking for things, you need to have intent. Whereas Shema is a belief statement. You're not asking for anything. You know what I'm saying? Yes, it's a belief and that's it. You know. So therefore, tefillah, which requires kavana, certainly for a length of time, but requires kavana, probably the length of time is probably the main idea and so on and so forth. So therefore, we don't care about the balabas. You know, the guy's going to get himself killed up there. You know, if he stays up there, which Monesre, you know what I'm saying? So Chazal said in that case, he can come down. What do you mean he can come down? He's violating the agreement of balabas. And the answer is, there is no violation. Because the balabas understands that if he needs to say Shemon Esrei, he can come down. So therefore, a person can do his religious necessities, and that is part of the agreement. However, Chazal wanted to save the guy money. So in a place where you can save the guy money, fine. In a place where you can't save the guy money, let him come down, and that's all. You see, and therefore, that's a good understanding of the cases involved. So what's the principle involved? So we know the case. We know the conduct. There are two variations here. One is tefillah, and the other is one is a Kriya Shema, the other is tefillah. We have the case. We know the conduct. What's the principle?
Save money.
Who?
Save money.
Save money. Yeah. Spares guy a loss. You know.
Principal is responsibility towards your employer.
The principal responsibility toward but
Underscoring the responsibility you have towards your employer.
No.
It supersedes.
no. 'Cause when I say the word principle, what do I mean by principle? What is
Lesson,
that
like a
principle?
lesson.
No, it doesn't mean lesson.
General rule.
No, what does principle mean? When you have case, conduct, principle, what does the principle have to tell
The
you?
rule which
Philosophy,
dictates
sure.
the halacha, yeah.
Who?
The rule which dictates the halacha here, in this case.
The principle is what is the idea, the underlying idea, that determines that this is the din for that case. Why is this the din for that case? You see what I'm saying? That's the principle. It's not a lesson to be learned. That principle addresses why is this the din
Yeah.
to the conduct to this case. That's
Oh.
its principle. So when you look over here, what's the principle here? Why is it he can stay up? You know what I'm saying?
The ability to have kavanah.
No, he can have kavanah, but the reason why he can stay up there, right, is because financial loss to the employer. Wasn't for that, they would tell him to come down maybe. Say, hey,
Mr. Recreation.
because it doesn't what?
Mr.
Because it
Recreation.
doesn't change the fact that you're afraid of falling. It's just that they were makel and he said, well, it's true, he's always going to be afraid of falling. That didn't go away, did it? No. So that's always there. The question is, what do we do with this? So we said, okay, so what's the problem then? If you're afraid of falling, so let him come down. And the answer is no. Because if he comes down, it's a loss to the balabal, to
But
the employer.
what's the difference? He's saying it up there or he's saying it down here? The difference is there he's yoitza, but it's not ideal. It's better to have better kavana down here, right? So we're talking about hidur kavana b'shema.
Well,
That's what we have
but
to
you
say.
don't have to-
Otherwise, there is kavana, fine.
Yeah, but you don't have to
It's not
learn that
perfect
way. You
kavana.
could just say he can be mechaven up there.
If he can be mechav, he can be tefillah also. He can be how.
No, the tefillah is much longer. You can't do that. His fear of falling will never allow him to be mechaven in Shemon Esrei. Never. It goes on much too long.
So why again only in the case of financial loss? If there's no difference, if you can be McCavan there on top for Krishna, on top and bottom the same, why does financial loss play a part?
I don't see what you're saying. If he can
So let anybody, why would anyone ever have to come down?
why would anybody have
to come down from
because he can't be mechaven.
So if you can't be McCavan, then even in the case of financial loss, he has to come down.
Exactly, because the Baal agrees to that. No, that's part of the contract. You need to come down for Shemon Esrei.
But
I'm
the
okay.
Shema,
I'd rather you
Shema,
not,
Shema.
because it's going to cost me 20 minutes of your labor. But there's no problem here of gezela. You have to separate that, right?
I'm talking about Shema.
Gezela is not an issue, right? Gezela is not an issue at all, right? Either way, he could do that, right? But Chazal were concerned. The question is, Chazal were concerned of the loss to the owner or the employer. So they said, in this case, he doesn't have to come down because he can mechaven, even if he's afraid of falling. But in the case of Shemon Esrei, he needs to come down. It's gzela, and the answer is not gzela, because the employer is okay with that. He'd rather not. So in a case where you can spare the guy, fine. But if you can't spare the guy, he's got to come down. That's the end of it.
So,
You know what I'm saying?
so no one ever has to come down for Kriya Shema, even non Umman.
You don't have to come down. Yeah, that's what it's
So so the reason the mission picked on Umman is only for Kriya Shema, for the Chiddush of Shemon Esrei, not for Kriya Shema.
The Chiddush, no, to let you know, because maybe we would say that his fear of falling will supersede, will
So why just
overcome.
pick an Umman? Just pick anyone. Anyone in a precarious situation could say Kriya Shema.
Well, most people are up in the tree. Why are they up in the tree? Because usually it's an ummah. Why would a guy be up in the tree? It's a classic case. It is a classic common case. We're talking about an agricultural society, and and you always have to pick trees. I mean, because we're going on a farm. I mean, you're always picking trees. So as a result of that, they took a classic hoiva. It's what's called bahoiva, which it's a common classic case.
There's no such thing as recreational climber. Just doesn't.
Yeah, it's like it's.
I either climb because I want to pick, because I am a professional worker.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I climb because I have some peaches in my backyard, which I want to pick for my family.
Yeah.
So I'm either a woman or I'm not a woman.
Well, it could be.
The
You know,
Rabbi himself can climb. You're asking. The
Oh,
Rabbi himself
yeah.
doesn't have to come down
If you're
either.
climbing for recreational purposes, what's stopping you from coming down?
Exactly. The
What's stopping
case
you?
of the woman.
According to
Why
what
should
should
you?
you?
Because I have on the rest
Well,
of
you
the...
don't have to.
It's
it's
only a
a matter if you
question.
want to. It's a matter if you want to be mekayim the mitzvah b'di avad, or you
Why?
want to do
I'm asking you,
lechila.
why is it b'diavad?
Because what do you mean? Why is it b'di
Why
avad? Because-
b'diavad?
you know, it's
Because otherwise, if it weren't b'diavad and you had to do, in a sense, lechachila, the optimal way where you have true kavanah and so forth, they would tell you to come down. Because how
So
do you
you already-
how do you have kavanah when you're like I said, when you're 40 feet up the air, you have a pachad. How do you have real kavanah for what
So
you're
you agree
doing?
with Eliezer? There's two types of kavanah. You're saying differently than
No, I guess the same.
You're agreeing that there's two levels. There's two types of kavanah. Because that's not what Eliezer says.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you two agree with that. I'm just-
I take the points.
I don't follow his
The how
diminishment.
come we're trying to say that?
Chazal
Even with this level of kavanah, you're still yotzi the mitzvah.
That's
what they're trying to
how I see
say.
it too.
Chazal
Yes.
simply said
Why is it b'diavad?
it's not a b'diavad, it's a chatchila.
This
No, because optimally he wouldn't be up there saying it.
no, basically this video is good for lechatchila too. Basically,
What's your question?
This,
I'm just trying to find out
well,
what's the same one.
no, it's better.
It's
Where are
between
It's better-
performing the mitzvah and it's just like the hidur where you have.
It's
like,
better to have better
No, where you
kavanah.
prepare an hour before, and all this other stuff maybe you want to do. but-
What's shema? What's ideal shema? Like shema, like people saying it, like that's you can say it up there like this.
What sect are we learning again? I just have to throw that in, sorry.
it seems therefore that this is the case. The case is, guys up there working, and he needs to say Kriya Shema. Fine. Question is, what should we do? Should we leave him up there, in which case he may not be mechavan at all? Or should we let him go down, in which case the employer will lose money? This is the nidun. Okay? So Chazal said, we allow you to stay up there. That's okay with us. To say because it's only one short sentence, or whatever. And we can feel that even though you may fall, which is the reason why you can't be mechavan, that will not be operative because it's a short sentence. Why are we allowing you? Obviously because you have kavanah. If you couldn't have kavanah, you'd say, hey, come down. I don't care what it is up there. So obviously Chazal felt that you can be mechavan because there's one short sentence. It's a belief statement. Fine, right? And the reason why they allowed it, okay, is because of the apparently the loss to the employer. It would seem so.
Why would? Oh, so if it
Now-
would be an umnan, why would they? Why would
Now,
they?
if you ask,
Not for
however,
loss, not for loss.
if you ask the employer and say, do you mind if this guy comes down? Are you really makbid? And the employer says, I don't really care. I'm okay with that, Then maybe it's better for him to come down.
Because it's better kavanah.
Maybe. No, because it's not better kavanah, because maybe he won't have any kavanah, because he's so afraid of falling, his mind is filled. When you have anxiety, guess what? You don't think of anything.
So we on a suffix,
So
right?
we-
So we pass in the kula because the loss of money.
No, so they felt that he will not be anxious if it's only for 10 seconds.
No, he's a Norman. He knows what he's
So
doing up there.
then he always stay up there.
But
You said that. You said that.
still, there's always some type of, maybe he'll be so anxious he won't be able to
That's a
machab.
suffix.
We-
The suffix you did
I don't know if it's a suffix.
We deal with professional here. We deal with
What?
professional. We don't deal with recreational climber. We deal with professional climber.
Maybe that's
He knows what
different.
he's doing over there.
The what?
He knows what he's doing over there.
He's a professional.
Let's say-
That's
Oh,
what
yeah,
kavanah.
yeah.
If I climb, maybe I should come down. But I'm not professional.
That's
Really.
an idea, maybe.
He's a
Maybe a
monkey.
professional is much more easier likely, whereas maybe a recreational guy, he won't be machab, he'll be so afraid and be anxious and so on. And if he won't be able to, perhaps that would make a difference between an uman, professional, and a regular person.
So
There is a difference.
in a sentence, Chazal considered it an acceptable risk to take to stay up there and say Shema with kavanah. It's an acceptable risk that you will not say it with kavanah.
I don't know, it could be they felt that you can say it. That
But
you
there's
can
always a
say
risk
it.
that you won't. Meaning, I think that's where everyone's going. There's always if he's up there and he's scared, why not be 100%? Just make him come down. And the answer is Chazal, we're confident enough that somebody who's a
So
professional.
maybe it's not, maybe what they really said is this, leave it up to the guy. If the guy feels that he can do it staying up there, so what they're doing is giving rishus, rishoyin, In other words, if you feel you can get up, you can stay up there without being anxious and therefore without disturbing kavanah, we give you permission. But it's up to you. But if you feel no way, right, then you have to come down. So what they're really doing is leaving it up to the guy, but they're saying, we give you rishus. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Another problem also with the guy who's down
You know what I'm saying?
going up there, you could also argue, well, why did you put yourself in a position in the first place? Now, why are you climbing so close to the time of when you have to say Kriya Shema, then it's all,
So
like, why, you can argue, so why are you putting yourself in the position?
I don't know if that's...
They're taking, this is a
I don't know
comment,
if that-
I mean,
that's
this is
not
a, I'm
Shia.
just
I don't
going
know if
against
that-
the regular guy. They're pointing as a guy who's a uman, who's working, because he's got a reason to be there. And there's a reason why maybe he's up there at the time of maybe it was Kriya Shema. It's not his fault. It's not like it's not like he put himself in that position, dafka, because he wanted to be there.
I don't know if that makes a difference. You're
I'm not- no, I'm just
speculating,
saying- I'm
you're
saying
saying, hey,
they
what are
were-
you doing up there in the first place, so therefore too bad, you gotta come
No,
down.
no, but they're saying that
I don't know if that's a
argument.
consideration.
No, but they're arguing that the guy who was down going up there for, for whatever it's recreational purpose for, that, they're trying to
But
make
what-
a comparison, but I'm trying to say, it's not a valid comparison, because you might be able to argue something else. There's other things going on with a recreational person versus an uman. It's a different. It's
The
a
real
different
question
circumstance.
here-
You can't compare.
Yeah, the real question here, is there employer or not? That's what seems the major case condition. An essential condition is there has to be an employer, and therefore not to lose him money, therefore they said it's okay with us if you stay up
So it's
there.
not just behavior that they were talking about, it happens to be...
No, that's the normal case where there's an employer. But the question is, what happens if there's no employer? That is the question. Let's say a guy went up for himself, so then there's no problem. That's a valid question. Which recreation, whatever it is. It's my tree. My tree, I want to go up and get my
Oh,
food.
nice, the guy's hiring them.
Yeah, exactly. No, there's no employer. So then that's a good valid point. What happens then? Did Chazal say Afa Pikain? Because we feel that B'derech Klal you can mechaven, or is it based fundamentally on the employer status? That's a valid
Well,
question.
that's what I'm saying. It's a whole different set of conditions.
But not because of what do you call it, Shia. What are you doing up there in the first place?
No,
That's what you say.
my point is,
You know what I'm saying?
it's a separate set of conditions, because you could argue, there could be,
you're-
there's different
I don't-
reasons
I don't-
why you
I-
might argue why, you could argue maybe you shouldn't be up there in the first place.
Yeah, but that's
There's
not-
nothing that.
That has nothing to do with the case.
Not
maybe.
this case, I'm
No,
saying,
well, what's
it's a
the issue?
separate case, you can't make the valid comparison and say, hey, okay, he's up there and therefore he'd be allowed to say, you can't necessarily make the
Yeah,
conclusion.
maybe you can.
You can't make the conclusion and say, hey,
Anyway.
in this case, you can say the few seconds for kavana and it's okay, and in that case, and then you can say in that case also, well, he's up there anyhow, so for the few seconds kavana, it's okay. They might not say that, because they may say, well, what are you doing up there in the first place?
But I don't know.
And maybe there might be a sufficient condition to say,
That's your speculation.
no, I'm just
This
saying.
case is not a case of that. This case is clearly a case of an employer.
I'm talking about that case.
You want to
can't-
add a
you
new
can't make-
condition.
I'm saying you can't.
When he
make-
went up on
you
his
can't-
own.
You can't make a conclusion from this case onto that case.
Which case? I
The
don't
case that they're
suppose-
talking about, this dumb guy who goes up for recreational purposes. You can't, just because in this case where you've got an employer and you've got a reason why he shouldn't come down, and therefore it's okay for him to say it, that doesn't mean in that particular case that the circumstances are the same, and therefore he could also say it.
Yeah, we don't know.
That's my point.
I'm sure it's
That's my point. You don't know. You can't make that jump.
It's machlokes Rishonim. It's machlokes Rishonim whether they could make a deal or not. I'm assuming so. It has to be.
It's a whole set of different
No, no,
conditions.
it has to be. It has to be.
It's not the same case.
Fine. Okay. What's the central idea? What is the real central idea of this Mishnah? We've got case, we have conduct, and we have the principle. What is the central idea? Really?
The minimum kavana. No.
Is it location, where and when you could say Kriya Shema? Is that what the central
No, it's
idea
not,
is?
it's not location really.
Well, there's up to three and down the
Impediments to...
Who?
Impediments to...
To kavana.
to correct, to
Yeah, that would be a central idea. Not, because you could think, well, the idea is location. On the tree you can, in Kriya Shema, where you can say Kriya Shema, and so on. But it's really those things which, impediments or hamper or whatever, are kavanah. That this is a classic Mishnah on that. So kavanah is a central idea. The area is kavanah. The impediments to kavanah is a central idea. So this would fit in the area called kavanah. Know what I'm saying?
Right. And more specifically,
Mental
performance.
performance,
Mental
right?
performance.
Mental performance, yeah.
It's one of the things of performance, I think.
It's clearly performance, yeah. And it's a state of mind performance.
And maybe you could say like allowed diminishment of kavanah for the sake of same in mind, something like that. No, it sounds fancy, but I'm just saying.
Well, diminishment of kavanah is the same thing. It's a mental state. It's a performance lacking mental state, the proper mental state. Yeah. Okay, where are we up to? Next, Kessin. Who?
He's running to Kessin. Is it Kessin?
No, it's not too about mitzvah.
Oh, okay. Kessin b'Kessin.
Yeah, okay, what's that?
Kessin. Hotami Kasha.
Yeah.
B'Layla Harishon. So Kessin is potter from reading Kriya Shema on the first night ad Motzei Shabbos until the following Motzei Shabbos. Imloi asa maaseh. If he did not perform any action, if he did, from that point on he is chayav.
The rest means he didn't live with her.
Right.
Yeah. So what's that halacha say?
So this halacha says that because he's not going to have kavanah, he's patur from reading Kriya Shema altogether.
That makes no sense. Just read the Shema, come on.
Is that what it is? What's the principle here?
Same impediment to
What?
kavanah.
Same principle of impediment.
What's the principle?
Oh, sorry.
The what?
The central idea, sorry.
Same impediment for kavanah. I mean, he is worried, he has a certain fear, and it doesn't let him have michavan for Shema. The only thing there, it's fixable, he is not
It's more of
fixable.
a tear, though.
It's more of a fear, he has more fear, he has more anxiety than in the previous case. It's more anxiety than by the tree.
I think there's a different idea here.
Yes.
I think the idea is you are being osik at one mitzvah, which makes you patur from another mitzvah.
Yes.
You're not oisek, I mean,
But you're
24/7.
at that time after getting marriage, you have a mitzvah. You have mitzvah to perform that deed. So therefore, because you have that mitzvah and it's an immediate requirement, you're patur from other mitzvahs until that mitzvah is accomplished.
So what is, yeah,
So,
okay.
so why
Yeah.
pick this case? Why not pick
No, but
something
that's
else?
the Ma'aser Rabbi Gamliel that's about to say. It seems not like that.
The what?
He said it's not an Elsa Mitzvah because he read Kriya Shema.
So maybe he just was mavata on that. He said, you're right.
Give me mavata.
Really, I'm really portable. I want to read it. I don't want to read it.
That's not what is the reason he gave.
He said, I don't know vatal afilu shoachas. I don't want to take advantage of the legal loophole. There's a loophole. I don't have to read it.
Such a thing is when you're involved in one mitzvah, but you're detracting from the mitzvah you're involved in.
Well, that's why I gave a time limit on it.
Maybe. So you need to go back. So what's the chiddush here, really?
Here though,
Tirda. Nothing's happening.
what is about that?
Anxiety, he has anxiety. I mean, it doesn't, till Motzei Shabbos, I mean,
So what do you?
he's
so
not
what-
busy
so
24/7.
Okay, so what do you see?
Next.
What do you see?
I see anxiety that prevents one to michavan Kriya Shema. That's what I see, but people seem to disagree.
So oisik b'mitzvah. This is
It's not
telling me something about-
oisik b'mitzvah. Till Motzei Shabbos, it's not oisik till Motzei Shabbos. It's not, I mean, he oisik b'mitzvah certain time. I mean, it's not like every day, 24 hours a day.
No,
Right.
maybe what he's saying is
No, but
from
so then why is oisik b'mitzvah something a mitzvah? If what you say is true, why is he potter?
It's because he can't michavan, he has anxiety and he doesn't have kavanah. Anxiety overrides.
Is that what?
He's incapable of mechavan.
Although
He's on top of a tree and the tree is like windy and he cannot climb down. He shouldn't say Shema. He can because there's no kavana.
but the Gemara doesn't learn that.
But you
The
can
Gemara
make
learns
count-
Tosef b'mitzvah.
You can make.
problem.
You know what I'm saying? You could, according to that, you
So
can
no,
make,
but the problem has to become a solution.
but you could apply that to many things, like how many people have a big business deal that's coming up in the next in the afternoon. So anyone who has a big business deal and is nervous is going to go through or not, he's not chayav for.
Right,
to
so
say Krishna.
real anxiety. I mean,
That's anxiety.
He needs a pill. Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah,
not a
you
mitzvah.
can't-
Big business there is not a mitzvah.
No, he has anxiety. He has anxiety.
No, but I'm saying according to his theory. I'm saying
No, if the guy is incapable, he's honest.
What's
He's
the
honest. He can
chiddush
say
here?
it.
What's the principle is clearly, you see from the Gemara.
so
Oisik b'mitzvah postman mitzvah. Period. That's the reason. You're oisik in.
So why till Motzei Shabbos? If right now there's a mitzvah and he has to say Kriya Shema. If right now at the time, fine, always took the mitzvah. So
Yeah.
but
Why during the day?
but during the day, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what during the day? What's he doing?
So there are people who hold that during the day he would be chayiv.
He is chayav.
Yeah. Yeah. See. Yesh b'ntai zipatel b'layla danu Kriya Shema avu b'Kriya Shema shel sach is chayiv. Who's that? B'Shem Arayvad. Rabbeinu Menoyach B'Shem Arayvad.
I don't
He
want.
holds Ein Chanami. During the day, you would be chayiv.
So we're talking
Why?
about specific times when
Yes.
the nightfall comes.
But there are, even Shachris, the Balaturim and the Rambam hold you potter totally.
Oh, that had to do something with anxiety already. Probably. Because you can't explain just his Oisek b'mitzvah. He's not Oisek b'mitzvah.
But the question is, what's the chiddush here? What do you learn from here?
There are two mitzvahs. He is
Yes, there are two
he has a
mitzvahs.
chiyuv, so which has a priority? By the way, why we have done.
Well, it's not a matter of priority. The guy got married, so his priority is
So
to
maybe
live life, right? That's his priority. That's
who says
that,
there are two mitzvahs? Why?
No.
Why is why priority?
Oh, it's time
We
sensitive.
have done saying why too.
You
He's
have a
gonna leave now.
Shema is also priority.
He's gonna leave now. If you say the priority is to his wife. He's gonna go home. Shema needs help.
You turn into a wooden
It's the right sir, yeah. It's the right sir. But this is the Rabbanan, it's Mishnah.
Because when you get married, it's just basically giving you a week to perform the mitzvah.
yeah, 4 days.
Or it's just giving you 4 days to perform
yeah.
the mitzvah.
So he got
So
married Wednesday night. Psula with the man psula. Yeah.
right.
And his concern is that she's not a psula. That's what his concern is, or whatever the concern is. You know. So he's got 4 days: Wednesday night, and Saturday night. Okay, and we say that he's part of Kriya Shema. Why? Because he's Oisik mitzvah. So the question then becomes, like you asked, what do you ask?
Let's say the other way around.
Yeah, what do you mean Oisik mitzvah? You know, at night one thing, but at the daytime, what's the Oisik mitzvah here?
Yeah, that's one question.
That
Another
was one question, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could, but you could.
So what would you answer on that question?
You can't do it. You can't do it during the day. You can't do the mitzvah during the day.
No, it's usually at night. You could, but it's at night. So how would you answer your question?
I'm stuck.
You're stuck.
I mean, I have to come up to anxiety. I can't be Oisek b'mitzvah. It just
No,
doesn't
but,
work.
what you're saying is true, but you're not seeing what you just said. You're not seeing the significance of what you just said.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm stuck.
Come on, what you're saying is true. I don't know if I'd call it anxiety, but there's clearly a concern. There's clearly a tremendous concern. Whatever the concern is, either she's not a psula, or she's a bula, whatever the concern is, and so, right?
It's the osik part.
So what's the chiddush here? You're almost there, you know,
It's consumed by it.
and therefore,
Therefore, he's pater from other mitzvahs.
He's
He's
not-
not consumed by one mitzvah, so therefore he's pater from another mitzvah.
so therefore, what's your chiddush? Hit the nail on the head. To be the chiddush.
Kaddish is if
You're
you
actually saying it, but you're not saying in a way that clearly shows that you understand exactly what you're saying.
He's not gonna be able to have kavanah. Close.
Well, there's no kavanah here. No. Oh, you mean for Kriya Shema?
Yeah.
No, yeah. It has nothing to do with kavanah. It's Oisik mitzvah. That's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with you that you can't be mechavan. No. It's your Oisik mitzvah.
It has to be
mitzvah.
anxiety is part of a mitzvah somehow.
What?
Somehow anxiety is part of a mitzvah. His anticipation is part of why
Is
is it a
what?
mitzvah?
So-
It's part of a mitzvah.
Oh, okay.
Why is it a mitzvah?
Wait. No. So now you're saying it. So the chiddush is that Oisik mitzvah, it's not only if you're doing the mitzvah. even if you have concern about the mitzvah, that's also called oisik b'mitzvah.
That's what I meant. Osek. That's because we talked about this 2 weeks ago.
That's the chiddush. The chiddush is that
Last week.
oisik b'mitzvah, potem mitzvah, is not only when you
One
do
second.
the
If I'm
mitzvah.
concerned about doing some mitzvah tomorrow,
Yes.
it doesn't mean I'm oisik b'mitzvah now. I should be potter for something from another mitzvah which I am chayav now. It does make sense.
Well,
Oh, it's the same
not-
idea.
I'll
It's
answer that.
Hachana is also tied to.
No, but it's not
It's not
tomorrow.
nachon. I mean, it's not
Wait,
prepared.
you
It's
said it. You said it. On
Yeah,
Shabbos.
but if he's if he's in a certain emotional state that's tied to doing a certain mitzvah, that's osek the mitzvah that he's involved in, which
I mean, I'm in certain emotional state to have a Rosh Hashanah, good kavanah for Rosh Hashanah. So I'm also b'mitzvah till Rosh Hashanah, for it's half a year.
This is a good.
Wow,
Last-
potem from the whole summer.
Right.
So no,
It's a free ride. I can just.
Yeah, I'm worried if I'm going to hear show for Rosh Hashanah. That's about 3 months from now. What to do for? It just parted me 3
Yeah,
months of mitzvahs.
that's major kiddush. What told me everything. I should tell my
if
wife.
you recall from the Ramchal share, because I mean I heard it for the first time on Shabbos.
Yeah, that one.
So
Yeah.
you said that it says Baruch Atah Hashem and the Baruch you say lasuk b'divrei Torah, not limud b'divrei Torah. So what does that
Yeah.
mean? Lasuk, because even let's say you're taking a break and you're getting a coffee, your reason you're doing it is in order to gather the energy to go learn. That's called being osek in the mitzvah. So say this person, he's very nervous. He wants to make his wife comfortable. How do I go about, like, how do I do this properly? Like, what if she's not a basula? That's being osik. He's being consumed. He's being. There's a good word for it. Now you got me on all those vocabulary words. No, concerned, but
He's concerned about being concerned. He's concerned about being
he's
concerned.
occupied. He is
Occupied.
occupied.
It's another
His
word,
mind is
yeah.
occupied by it.
Correct.
So basically, the
Well,
whole.
there has to, look, there has to be a gedder here.
Yes,
Right.
also good. I mean, the whole elul, the month of elul,
I'm
everyone should be put on
concerned.
everything.
Am I going to get matzahs next Pesach or not? I mean, maybe they'll run out of shmur matzahs.
Yeah.
So
It's
therefore,
very concerned. Yeah.
I'm not fucking the whole year.
Or at least the whole elul. We are so worried about the whole elul. We put on everything because we're worried about Rosh Hashanah.
Okay.
The whole month of elul.
Yeah.
at least
So,
the minimum.
So what are you really raising? What are you saying? We need to solve what problem?
We need to find the gather. Where is the gather?
Exactly. We need to find a gedder. There always has to be a gedder here, or else you put the kol kula, because you're always worried about obviously. So obviously, but obviously it has to be.
Immediate?
Yeah. Well, he got married Wednesday night, right? So he's going to do biyah that night, right? So is he Isaac? Yeah, he's concerned because the mitzvah is now, he's now chayav in the mitzvah. It says chasm potem kriyishma b'laylo rishon. But maybe this guy's already concerned 2 days before. So why is he reading kriyishma before?
The mitzvah's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Right
So
now.
obviously, you
No, but,
understand?
but that mitzvah, it's not right now. Shema is right now.
Oh.
That is the whole night.
Yeah, no,
It's not the beginning, it's not
it's
the
not the.
So, so even if it's right now, tonight, still
No,
we're worried about
Because
it
the
tonight.
Torah is Isaac b'mitzvah, not tirda.
Right.
You keep,
Oisik
switching
mitzvah.
back and
Yeah.
forth.
Oisik mitzvah.
And tirda, therefore, is called Isaac
So
b'mitzvah.
we have to find together because Mama.
Well, the gather probably is that the mitzvah is now, you can now chayav in that mitzvah. When the guy gets married, he's now chayav in that
Even
mitzvah.
now, even if now in the morning, so I mean the whole day he's worrying the whole day. I mean, or maybe he's worrying, but but
The question is, okay, so the question is, when does he become potter? You know what I'm saying? But he's potter when? He's not potter from Chakras, before he got married. He's potter after he got married, then he's potter now from Ma'ariv. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, the mitzvah has to be now present. He has to be now mechuyev in the mitzvah. Forget about when. If he's not chayav in the mitzvah, when Isaac the mitzvah, you know what I'm saying? So obviously, the mitzvah has to be chayav now, except he's not doing it yet. You know what I'm saying?
Also think of it like this: how many, I mean, in those days especially, this is a once in a lifetime mitzvah. This is the one time in his life that he's going to be dealing this situation. So it's very different than
I don't know
matzah
if that's.
Pesach.
I don't know if that's.
No, it's just like
that's
anxiety. We
that's
can imagine
a
anxiety.
consideration.
I mean, people have different anxieties for different.
I don't know if that's a
things.
consideration. Just one time, What happens if he was married 4 times before?
Nowadays it happens. Yeah.
So clearly then, this is Isaac mitzvah, right? and it's now. It has to be, because it says chosen, right? We're not talking about the day before the marriage, or even in the morning of the marriage. We're talking about after the marriage. And now, does he have to say Kriya Shema b'layla or not? So the answer is no, because right now he's mechuyev in that mitzvah, right? And therefore, he does not have to say Kriya Shema, because oisik b'mitzvah, and the chiddush is that tirda of the mitzvah, which is the concern of the mitzvah, is the same thing as oisik b'mitzvah. Doesn't mean literally doing it at the same time.
So it's very fuzzy. We still don't understand together. It's very fuzzy, but
No,
still with Rosh Hashanah, with Pesach, with Matzah, we still don't know how to gather it.
Oh, so by gather you mean like a gather means at
Exactly.
what point are you
Right.
done?
I mean, whenever you're worrying about something, so what? I mean, so you worry about it, so still you do other things. Here, so you worry about it, forget it. You are not high in other things, drop everything else. That's the only thing you should be busy with right now. So when do we say it, when don't we say it? It has to be exact gathering. It's very fuzzy now.
But after Mitzvah Shabbos, what happens?
He's 5 again.
No, he's potter. Oh, he's chayiv, yeah. That's right. You mean chayiv, yeah. Why?
Because it's time to. We
People
have a gather. We have a gather here.
Yeah. He's oisik b'mitzvah,
We have a gather.
Libur Gaspar.
which means, what are you saying?
No more anxiety.
Familiarity has set in.
Therefore, finish the thought.
And therefore the... I thought in terms of theater, but now I remember that.
No more anxiety. He's not
His
anymore.
anxiety is less anxiety.
Because the whole reason for oisik b'mitzvah was because of the tirda. But that's gone, so there's no oisik b'mitzvah.
Right.
You see. Although, interestingly enough, there is a mitzvah. There's two concepts here. There's the actual performance
Not
of the mitzvah,
Isaac mitzvah anymore.
and then there's before you do the Maisa mitzvah.
There's a mitzvah, you're not Osek in it.
Exactly.
And there's no
But
tirda.
when you do the mitzvah itself, you're still Isaac.
But the tirda is no longer considered the osik in the mitzvah.
Exactly. That you see the chiddush here.
There's
The
no
whole-
tirda to be considered Osek.
Yeah, but at night time when he wanted to do the mitzvah, he would be potter, because that's truly Isaac mitzvah. So Isaac mitzvah means the performance of the mitzvah, and Isaac mitzvah means the concern about the performance of the mitzvah which you need to do. So once after Mitzvah Shabbos, the Libur Gaspar, already she talked him out of it, whatever, and so on. He says, okay, who cares if she's not a psula? I like her. Finish. So something like that. That's obviously the way it's going to go. So therefore, the concept of being oisik b'mitzvah as tirda doesn't exist, and that was our entire heter. But you still would say, but when he is oisik in the mitzvah, right? Even after Mitzvah Shabbos, he should be potter. Because the thought he being oisik in mitzvah. That doesn't remove. You see what I'm saying? You need to distinguish. You understand what I'm saying? That's what you'd see from here.
The Ramos says that you only oisik mitzvah patur and mitzvah is only if the second one you can't do it easily. If you could do the second one easily, then you chayiv.
Okay. That's part of the Gedorim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do we learn? Where do we learn oisik mitzvah is part of the mitzvah? We learn from uvelech v'aderech. Uvelech v'aderech.
B'derech
In
shelcha.
your b'derech shelcha, is if you're going for your thing,
Then
you're
you're
then you're chayav. But if you're going because that's part of the tzivui, then you're potter. So
Part of the
pashtus, what's the
Ram
difference?
if it's the Ram mitzvah.
Yeah. So then, according to that limud, why should there be a difference, really?
According to what?
According to what you're saying about the Ramah, why should there be a real difference? I'm doing a mitzvah, and it's not because I'm doing a mitzvah because the Rebbeinu was mitzvah for me. What's the difference? I can do it easy or not. Well, how does the Ramah know that? You see what I'm saying? It's a chiddush. You know what I'm saying? It's your potter, finished. That's all. What's the difference? I can do it easy or not, or I can do both at the same time. The pasuk says.
Yeah, but you're busy right now. You're busy with the mitzvah. That's
Yeah,
the
you're
point.
busy in a mitzvah of the Rebbeinu Shalom.
Right.
If it was yours, then you're chayiv. Uvelech decho b'derech, and you're going, you're chayiv. But if if you're going is because the Rebbeinu Shalom to perform a mitzvah, then you're potter. So what's the difference if I can do them both easy? And so it's an interesting position of the remote. You have to see where he gets that from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Based on the idea and so on. Good. So what happened here? So Rabbi Gamliel obviously did not take advantage of this. Yeah? You know?
Yeah.
So what happened here? The Talmidim said to him, you know,
So Masa Rabbi Gamliel Shekora Balayla Harishon Shenasa. So Rabbi Gamliel read the first night he got married.
yeah, he recited Kriya Shema.
May not have been his first marriage, but apparently it was his wife's first marriage. אמרו לו תלמידיו, לא לימדתנו רבנו שחוסן פוטר מקרא שמע בלילה הראשון? Didn't you teach us that a chosan is potter from reading Kriya Shema on the first night? אמר להם, איני שומע לכם לבטל ממני מלכות שמיים אפילו שעה אחת. He told them, I will not listen to you to pater myself from Malchut Shamayim, Kavas Malchut Shamayim, even once.
So what do you think he's saying?
So when we say Chas and Pater Mikra Shema B'Layla Harishon, we mean we don't really mean the first night. We mean from the first night till Motzei Shabbos.
Yeah, if he didn't do the Maisa.
Right.
No, once he does the Maisa, you chai.
Even on the first night.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So just
There's
finding
no
the way
no,
they told him. Didn't you teach us that you don't do Kriya Shema on the first night? Well, no, maybe he did Maaseh. Meaning, how do they know he didn't do a Maaseh on the first night? Interesting the way.
Maybe daven with the rest of the people at the house.
I mean he davened before.
Yeah, he's saying
right after the chuppah he davened.
It says a Kachomim right now before. I mean
before Yechud he davened.
Yeah. Has to be.
Okay. So he said that he doesn't want to be mevatam all Malchut Shamayim. So apparently it was a permission not to say Kriya Shema. He doesn't want to take the leniency.
What?
It was a leniency, not to say Kriya Shema. And he didn't want to take this leniency.
That's what it says.
If it's also mitzvah, potter from another mitzvah, what leniency? He's always this mitzvah, don't do other mitzvahs. It doesn't sound like a leniency. I mean, for him it sounds like it is, but essentially it shouldn't be.
Well, yeah,
you're doing this mitzvah, that's it. Forget about everything else. That's it.
Yeah, but he doesn't bring the Shema as a mitzvah. He's doing mitzvah. It's Shema as Kavas Malchut Shamayim. He wants to be Kavas Malchut Shamayim himself because this is what fuels him for the next few hours.
But he's busy. If he's busy with another mitzvah, why should he do this one?
No, because
he's busy.
This is what gives him his Yiras Shamayim for the next 12 hours. So he's like, I'm not listening to you. Like I'm not going to take the leniency. I know it's only mitzvah. I don't have to do it.
He has to listen to Hashem. He's busy with one mitzvah. Don't do another mitzvah.
He could do another mitzvah as long as he doesn't stray
It's
first.
very interesting lashon because I'm not going to listen to you. What do you mean? They're repeating what he said.
Yeah.
Why is he saying it that way? It's like I'm not listening to you. What do you mean? They're repeating what he said.
Yeah. Okay.
This is very interesting way for him to say it if what he's saying is, I'm just not taking this leniency. He could
Well,
just say,
he's saying, yeah, I'm not. It seems to be that he's saying I'm not taking the leniency. Yeah. You know, that's one possibility. Another possibility, if you think about that, because he says, he does. He says, Omer Lahem, I don't want to take advantage of. Not saying Kriya Shema. You're right, I'm concerned, but I don't want to take advantage. So therefore I have the liberty, if I don't want to take the loophole, I have the liberty of doing it.
That's a chiddush.
Yeah.
Because usually, the way I understand the Ramah is the fact that if you're busy with one mitzvah, that's the mitzvah you have to be busy with. If a different mitzvah is going to share that mitzvah, you should not do it.
Yes.
That's the way I understood the Ramah. Meaning that's why I think the Ramah says that if the second mitzvah, if it's possible to do both, you should do both. Because the reason the Ramah understands why also mitzvah is because we don't want the second one to come and disturb the first one, the performance of the first one. So then, if that's the logic behind mitzvah, then it's a chidush that he's allowed to say Kriya Shema.
Perhaps perhaps his concern was really with Chil Hashem. That, what was it,
Why would be Chil Hashem if he did it with
because
mutter?
there's certain, the sages of that generation, there were certain things that were like expected out of them.
Either, but if the halacha is
That if somebody saw that they didn't do certain things, like I forgot who was that, they didn't
Marasayan?
like if they didn't, no, not
Marasayan?
No, they could. It was called Chil Hashem.
If
If you didn't wear tefillin for, you walked 4 feet without a tefillin or something like that, that it was considered Chil Hashem for, I forgot who this was, but for one of the Chachamim. So maybe for him, if for someone would think that he was mevato the Malchut Shemayim for even for even a little bit, that this for a man of his stature that would be considered Chil Hashem. So he didn't want anyone to ever.
It's hard to say. First of all, because he's being shown with the halacha. Number two, they're at his wedding. They're at his wedding, and they know, and they're the ones telling him, "Didn't you teach us that you potter? What are you saying it for? You told us you potter. So why would they ever think for ket? Why would they think it's a Chil Hashem? Why would they think that it's inappropriate for them not to say Kriya Shema? They even is saying to him, "What are you doing? You shouldn't be saying Kriya Shema." You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to say what you say.
But that's his Talmidim. But what about the other people?
And Talmidim means the Chazal. He was the Nasi. He was the Nasi.
But they weren't the only people at the wedding. There's other people there that would be witnessing him as well. So I mean,
That's hard to say.
I'm just saying. I just throw it out as a possibility. Maybe maybe that's what he was thinking about.
It's not much.
There is Gemaras that talk about these type of things.
Yeah, the only thing is that it's not like it's his wedding. They know he's getting married, and they know the halacha. So I'd rather they wouldn't think it's inappropriate that he's not saying.
So, but was it halakha for one of the sages to walk 4 dalat amot without tefillin? Of course he could do it. It's halakha. He didn't have to wear tefillin every dalat amot that he walked. But on himself, this is what he did. Each of the sages had like a certain thing, a certain what do you call it, maaseh that they were careful in, and if they weren't careful in, then it was considered Chil Hashem.
Okay.
For their madriga, and maybe this is what he's saying here.
Can I try a different angle?
No, this is the halacha, but on my madriga, I can't do this.
Can I try a different angle? What is the consequence of saying Kriya Shema without kavanah? Is it a bracha?
Well, like even lo yotza.
So
whatever it says lo
if you're not
yotza.
yotze, what is it, an avera? Is it not?
Yeah, you mivat the mitzvah saseh.
So it's sort of like a bracha levaltala.
No, it's not a bracha. You didn't say Kriya Shema. It has nothing to do with brachos. You didn't say Kriya Shema, so you mivat the mitzvah saseh.
That's it?
Yeah.
So what does he
That's
have to
enough.
lose?
Oh, it's very serious.
Well, it's very serious.
No, meaning, wait, it's very serious. No. Let's say he's part of the mitzvah because he's also in another mitzvah. So if he says it, he'll either be yotze and he had the proper kavanah, or he won't be yotze. But he still was pater. So what does it matter?
Well, yeah. If he doesn't say it, he is pater. They're asking, why are you saying that you're really pater? You do not have to say it.
Because if he says it and he had the kavanah, he's yotze the mitzvah and he just chapped the mitzvah.
Yes.
If he says it and he didn't have the proper kavanah, he's still, according to my understanding, he's still cleared because he's pater from the mitzvah in the first place. So he just basically took it. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, he didn't have to do it. He would have been. He's not. Oisip mitzvah mitzvah means he's not chayav.
But if he does it, he's still.
You get him.
He gets the mitzvah.
Yes.
So what does he have to lose?
He doesn't have anything to lose. Nothing.
So then that's why.
But the only thing is, they said, you told us it was pater. It's not that he's losing anything. They said to him, I don't understand something. You said you're pater. Why are you saying it?
Your actions contradict your words.
Yeah.
Can I propose
It's legitimate, even though you're right, he had nothing to lose because he was saying Kriya Shema. That's great, But they didn't understand his teachings. He's contradiction his teachings.
Right.
And they're that's what Talmidim. We don't say what's going on. You are contradicting your teachings that you should not have said it. So we don't understand. Which is it?
Can I propose a noble idea?
A noble idea.
It sounds from the Mishnah that he was worried about Kriya Shema, just like Chosin would be worried about his mitzvah. So it sounds like he is mamash like.
And therefore, which is the mitzvah?
Why you choose that mitzvah? Choose this mitzvah.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Very good.
Stirda. He's always the mitzvah.
Because it sounds like it says it says means I am so into the midst of Kabbalah's Ochim Shemayim, and now, that the Maisa is the intruding on my kavanah.
There's no priority in that mitzvah now.
Afilu
That's why he says
sha'achas.
Sha'achas, not
Right.
Yom Echad.
Yeah,
That's why he says
Okay.
Sha'achas,
That's
not
how
Yom
what
Echad.
that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Very good.
yeah. Very good. I was going to say that. I was waiting for somebody to chop. You got it. Right.
Afilu sha'achas, meaning that.
And in 1 second.
Even 1 second, even 1 moment.
Means he's such an incredible person that that's on his mind.
So of
That
course
is
that's
the
what you
mitzvah.
Aye.
So the other mitzvah, Chos and Potter Mishvisha, actually he should be Potter from that, if you want to, it's a strange way of
Right.
looking at it. He wouldn't even have to move his wife because he was so concerned about Makabel Moshe Shemayim. I don't know what his wife would have said about that. I don't, say, excuse me.
He didn't tell his wife, he told his cousin, tell me this.
But once he says it, he's
No, but Sha'achas.
he can go on.
So, yeah, he was such a madrega that he couldn't. Every second he had to makabel Omar Shemayim. So for that was the tiud of the mitzvah, the mitzvah of kabbalas Omar Shemayim, which is the mitzvah. That itself, the tiud. So that patters out all the other mitzvahs.
Tesis doesn't learn that way.
I know it's a twist, but it's interesting. The lashon is that because it's on Yishmelecham afilu shor echas. Even 1 second I can't do this. So it's a twist that becomes the mitzvah he wants to do, and also Maisa with his wife. That's a secondary mitzvah. So it's almost like he's potter from that, but I don't think it would go because talking about Sean Biasy and so on and so forth. Anyway. So
probably that way.
That goes back to what I'm saying, that each of
So
those
what these
sages
Chiddushim-
had a maaseh that they were preoccupied with.
yeah,
They had their label,
Yeah.
whatever you call it. It's like a labeled mitzvah that they were preoccupied with, and it was like
yeah.
it was unthinkable for them to not be
Afilu shor
preoccupied.
echas, yeah. So really, when you talk about oisik mitzvah and potter mitzvah, you're oisik which mitzvah, which one you are
Right,
potter. So he's saying, "Vaket, I'm oisik in Kriya Shema, I'm potter from the other stuff." Which one's the oisik and which one's the potter? You know what I'm saying?
So maybe that answers the Rosh Hashanah.
And the lashon is very good. Afilu shor echas.
Right.
I can't do one, which means that's my mitzvah. So you want me not to say Kriya because I'm doing that? Adrabah, I should not do that because I'm so concerned with Kriya Shema. So of course I have to read Kriya Shema.
So probably with that we could answer our shofar question. The guy's worried about shofar, what's going to happen to Rosh Hashanah, but Lemaisa he doesn't. I mean, nobody worries
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So theoretically it's a question if somebody really worries, but nobody does.
Nobody does, no. Yeah, but the thing is that he's also Kriya Shema. There's a Chiyuv Kriya Shema. At night there was a Chiyuv Kriya Shema. It was after the Chasna and he was Chayiv Kriya Shema. And that's when
Both
they need to do it.
mitzvahs fall at the same time, basically.
Yeah. So he switched it. Very good. I want to say it also.
But is that only
It's a
when
twist.
he's with his wife, or is that the whole night? Even with when as Eliezer says, there's no minion.
Yeah.
He's not with his wife. He's like sitting there.
He'd be potter. Yeah.
He'll be Potter also.
It could be,
why should
yeah.
be Potter? I mean, there's nothing
Because
else.
he's
There's
Oisik
nothing to
Kriya
do.
He's Oisik Kriya Shema.
No, I mean
a
regular person. Regular.
Oh, regular. Well, the very first thing I have, one times if everybody wants to do what Rabbi Gamliel did, so that's going to be one of the Mishnahs. Can he do it and so on, But certainly that could be it could be Kulam Shat. So that's the Chiddush here. Enochanami, he was telling us, Tamid, you're right. If you Oisik Mitzvah, Pot Mitzvah, even Tiudav Mitzvah is called Oisik Mitzvah. You know what I'm saying? But in my case, we switched the mitzvahs. It's Kriya Shema that I'm worried about, not this. So therefore, if that's the case, what's my patur? There is no patur. You know what I'm saying? If anything, you know what I'm saying? There's no exemption here. What's the central idea of this Mishnah?
That the exemption could be flipped.
Well, that's Rabbi Gamliel. But Chos and Potter Kriya Shema, what's the? So we know the principle. Oisik b'mitzvah.
I would say Shalom Bayis.
What's the exemption here? What's the exemption here? I mean, what's the area here?
I would say lack of kavanah again.
I would say performance of a mitzvah. What's extended performance, basically, something like that. It's like more performance than just being. What is?
No, it's really very simple. Who's Chayiv Kriya Shema and who's Potter?
No, but it's not the essence. The
The
essence.
answer is Chosn is Potter from Kriya Shema.
It's not the essence of it. No,
He's part of
I mean
Kriya
that's the
Shema.
halacha, but the principle is different. The principle is more like in the essence, like what does it mean to be la'asol in mitzvah?
But
to be
it's-
worried about it, it means same to be
What's the
oisik.
area? The area is who is chayav Kriya Shema, who is
But
potter.
it's not the principle. That's final halacha. Yeah.
That's the area of that this halach is concerned.
Right.
with.
The area. Sure.
Yeah.
The area. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
And the
principle is-
idea is that what type of a chos potter Kriya Shema b'layla rishon, what exempts him?
Oisik b'mitzvah.
What is that? That's a situational exemption.
Yeah.
I don't agree that's a central idea.
Is
that
it-
who? I think the central idea has to do with the mental performance of the mitzvah.
No, it's Oisik b'mitzvah.
That's the area. It's not who.
Who? Which
So if
situation?
we're who, then why not give us a list of guys who are exempt and the guys who are
They are.
not exempt? So it's no list here.
No, it's
Give
coming.
me a specific example.
No, it's coming up. From now on, you have a whole bunch of mishnayos who's exempt and who's not.
I don't know that yet.
Sure. Misha Meisei Mutelefonov is exemption.
Okay, I didn't look ahead.
Noshim Chayam, Noshim Vavodim.
Yeah, but if you look at the Mishnah before,
Yeah.
you're looking at there's
Well, starts a new topic. Exactly.
not necessarily, because I can tie it into the previous Mishnah.
How?
Because in the previous Mishnah, you were looking at certain impediments to the mental performance of it, which is due to an external something.
No, the previous mission was 4 halachas, right? Hakar Shema, audibility was one.
No, you
How
got
many?
2 before.
The Dalit.
Well, that
Yeah,
Dalit.
Yeah, dollar. Where you had the external factor of a pachad. There was an environmental influence of a pachad that interfered with the potential of your possibly saying a Kriya Shema. And here, the emotional state of a pachad is internally generated because of a life condition, as opposed to an actual physical condition causing your pachad.
But that's the reason why it's potter.
No, but in each case, it's causing an emotional disturbance to your kavana of the Kriya Shema.
Is that why he's potter from Krishna? In this
Yes.
Mishnah?
Yes, that's
He
the
said
idea.
He's
That's
potter
the idea.
mitzvah. Meaning we don't want the kavana. Meaning we
No,
don't
we're talking about the previous Mishnah.
The previous Mishnah is clearly that, right?
It has to do with there.
So in this Mishnah here,
But remember one thing.
But in this case,
Remember one thing. The previous Mishnah is what? You're not potter. It's your question is where do you have to read, right? The previous Mishnah does not deal with Tur, right? It deals with is it Rosh Hashanah or you got to get down. There's no right.
but still,
So even if there's
it's a condition that's influencing whether or not influencing
They do-
your kavana.
Yeah, they do.
Here you have such an emotional attachment to a certain mitzvah that in your tirda of the mitzvah, you have such an emotional state attached to this that is interfering. This is actually interfering in
Yes.
your kavana.
The only thing
In that case, it's not interfering
Yeah.
with your kavana. In this case, it does interfere.
Like I said, Mishnah Dalad, the interference of kavana demands that where you can say it, but you're chayav. Here, right, it's oisik b'mitzvah potem on a mitzvah. And the chiddush is that even if tirda, you're concerned, right, that's why you're potter. Not because it interferes with your kavanah.
right? You could have.
You're saying it's true, it's mental, it's concern. But that doesn't potter you, you know what I'm saying? What potters you is that's considered oisik b'mitzvah.
And that's
You know what I'm saying? And the chiddush, therefore, is your potter. So now we begin a series of ideas of who's chayav and who's potter. I know what you're saying. There is an element of kavanah, but that kavanah, but here, is part of the tirda, is part of oisik b'mitzvah. You know what I'm saying? And therefore you're potter. Not because of kavanah.
So who is
Not because you didn't have kavanah. It's because your kavanah is the mitzvah of some other mitzvah, the Meli potter. So that's why, even though I understand what you're saying, I would rather say the area here is who's chayav and who's potter. You know what I'm saying? Give it some thought. And then from now on, you can see the rest of the Mishnah is chayav and potter. The only thing important to remember here is that the patur is a situational patur, not an inherent patur. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference.